Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's that time of the week once again where the weekly challenges go ahead and refresh. So we have a new week in store with 5 events and 3 rewards to collect. It's purely monetary this time around, so let's go ahead and have an overview at what's in store for us this week. Starting off, as you can see, event number 1 is at Blue Moon Bay Speedway for the American FR Challenge 550. Up next, we have the pickup truck race over at Colorado Springs Lake. Then the return of the special event, which is for the Plymouth Superbird 1 make over at Watkins Glen Long Course. Then we move on to one of my favourite categories in the game, the World Rally Challenge. This takes place at Willow Springs International Raceway, Big Willow. Then for the final event of the week, it is the Super Formulas over at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. In terms of the rewards for this week, it is purely monetary gain, like I mentioned. So 100,000 credits for completing 1 event. For 3 events, it's 200,000 credits. And for 5 events, it's 500,000 credits. You can quite easily net yourself over 1 million credits in a pretty relatively short time overall. It's not going to take you too long to get these events done and dusted. So heading over to race number 1 for the week, the American FR Challenge 550 over at Blue Moon Speedway. This is on the full oval layout or tri-oval. I'm not exactly sure what kind of layout it is, but to me it's basically just a simple oval layout. Now in terms of the PP rating, it is purely a recommendation, so if you do want to go way over that you can do. But obviously for me, I will try and stick to as close as possible to any recommendations and such like that. And I'll also be running the game on the hardest difficulty. Now in terms of event number 1, realistically, you shouldn't have any issues here, no matter how you play in the game. A lot of the AI are in classic American muscle cars. They're topping out at a relatively low overall top speed, and in terms of their consistency around here, I found that the majority of the time they were losing a ton of time into that first corner. They just seem to constantly struggle, ending up kicking the rear end out, and then to be honest, they're just sitting ducks, or you're just going to easily pull away from them. The only car of this entire grid that may cause you some trouble will be this Viper GTS from 2002, which seems to have a relatively bigger gap than anything else. Once you pass that car, you are pretty much home safe and dry. It's a relatively simple layout, and I don't think anybody should realistically have any troubles with this one. So after 3 laps, you are done and dusted, and you can take away the first tick of the week, and obviously reward 1 of the week as well. So the standard payout for this event with the clean race bonus is 15,000 credits, and on top of that you're going to be taking 100k as well. So 115,000 credits in the bank for around about 2 to 3 minutes of your time. Not too bad so far. On to event number 2, this is the pickup truck race over at Colorado Springs Lake. So there is a PP recommendation for this one. I believe it's around about 480. In terms of the car itself, obviously it must be one of the 2 pickup trucks that we do have in game, either the Ford or the Toyota Tundra. In terms of either of them, to be honest, you should get away with any of them, to be honest. There's no real preference. I just chose the Ford because it's one that I've very rarely ever used. Typically I'll take the actual Toyota Tundra. In terms of the AI themselves, again, it's a bit of a weird one. They suffer from the typical sort of day 1 problem of the AI themselves, obviously this being a very early event in game. To be honest, they're just very inconsistent, and I don't think you'll have too many problems with them. Again, a lot of the tighter corners, they'll just kind of overshoot it, try and correct themselves, quite often almost end up in the barrier or spinning out and such. They're a bit clunky over the jumps and that, so to be honest, I don't think you'll struggle too much with this one. Again, just keep an eye out for trucks that are absolutely barreling themselves across the track. That should be the sort of main concern you have. In terms of the AI themselves, though, I did find that the front runner once again had a major gap to the rest of the field, so just ensure that you're keeping decent pace overall. This way you should be easily able to make that overtake once you've kind of got yourself up to P2. As you can see here, I managed to get the overtake done on lap 3, so right at the beginning into turn 1 we're going to throw it down the inside and get that one done and dusted. In the end we did get a decent gap of around about 6 seconds, and that is going to give us tick number 2 for the week. In terms of the payout for this one, relatively low, so 45,000 credits with the clean race bonus. Obviously no reward for 2 events, so let's move on to event number 3. This is the special event for this week, the return of the Plymouth Superbird 1 make, this time at one of my favourite courses in the entire game, Watkins Glen Long Course. In terms of the car itself and the way that they've set this one out, again it's a typical 3-lap sprint, so we're not worrying about tyre life or fuel usage. Just a quick side note though, when it comes to the upgrades, if you're running the fully customizable suspension, just be aware that if you're running the car just that slight bit too low, especially up the likes of the big hill that comes up here just after turn 1, so sort of turn 2 into the sort of left right before you get down that big straight, there is a chance that it will catch on the arches and spin the car out. So I do recommend just adding that little bit of extra height to the car just to ensure that that doesn't happen. The rest of the track though, pretty simple, and the car should be able to handle it relatively easily. In terms of the AI themselves, again, very inconsistent. This is something that I've noticed with the Plymouth Superbird one. The fact that the AI just seems to either be incredibly quick in some sections, and then in other sections they are incredibly slow, mainly the corners. Now, again, I get the car's a bit sketchy and stuff like that, but there's no excuse for the AI to be absolutely crawling around some of these corners. So just be aware that if you are following one of the AIs in front of you, there is a chance that they might just slam the brakes on and you could end up into the back of them. Again, it can be rather unexpected, but overall a very, very easy event to get done. As you can see, we do have the engine swap Superbird, and we did pull out a 30-second gap. I don't think you'll have any problems here. Just ensure that, you know, you follow that general advice for the car itself. It's 105,000 credits there with the clean race bonus, so not too bad. We're also going to get 200k on top of that. So really not too bad so far for 3 relatively short events. On to event number 4 though, we do have some, I guess, more strategic events overall when it comes to the last 2. So the World Rally Challenge and the Super Formula ones definitely require the likes of, you know, fuel consumption and tyre usage and stuff like that. So just be aware, this one at Big Willow, it will absolutely shred your tyres. I'm not sure if the tyre weight's just massively turned up or something like that. But again, just take note that even on the hards here, I did manage around about 6 laps before they were getting kind of chewed up. In terms of the AI themselves, there's not many of them, so there's 12 cars in total on grid, including yourself. It's a 10-lap sprint race, so again, it's not going to take you too long, but there is the likes of, you know, fuel consumptions and tyre life, so just be aware of that. In terms of the fuel, these cars are pretty decent, but once again, it does seem that it's, you know, turned up quite a bit for this event to sort of ensure that you do have to pit. So in terms of the way that the actual AI drives this track, they actually performed much better than I expected. You may end up having a bit of a challenge with the likes of the leading cars. Again, there was 2 cars mainly up front for me, which was the NSX and the Quattro. Just keep an eye on them, so once you start getting through that pack, you'll have a typically big gap. Once you get towards them, just ensure that you're doing everything you can to get past them. They may give you a bit of a hard time, but again, you should be able to get them on strategy alone. You shouldn't have to turn the fuel mix down or anything like that. As you can see, we took the lead here at the end of lap 4, going on to lap 5. At that point, we're going to run another few laps, and then we're going to box in. We're going to take a new set of tyres. As you can see, even on the racing hards here at the end of lap 6, that rear left is almost completely shredded and we're almost out of fuel. So at this point, we may as well just do both. So we're going to put another set of hards on. We're then going to overfill the car just to ensure that we do have enough fuel till the end. Again, some of these cars, or some of the fuel notches, should I say, in the game, isn't too accurate. So I always recommend just taking a slight touch more fuel than you realistically should. Yes, this is going to cause us to lose a bit of time in the pit stop and obviously lose our overall position. As you can see, we did come out back behind the Quattro, but we are going to be able to get that gap down relatively quickly. As you can see here, lap 7, we're going to get it down the inside, and basically that is the lead position change. The rest of the cars still have to pit, as you can see, go around towards the end of lap 7, they jump in, and that's it. We're basically back in lead and we can build up that gap away from the rest of the field. So all the AI as well will end up having to pit, so don't be kind of disheartened if you find yourself kind of crawling towards the back to begin with. Overall, not a bad event, quite short overall, taking just over 10 minutes. And that's going to give us tick number 4 for the week. Now, in terms of the payout, relatively low for this one, 65k without the clean race bonus. However, that is going to give us our daily driving marathon reward, which this time was a 4-star. So let's move on to the final event of the week. This is the Super Formulas over at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Just be aware here, in terms of the AI, they are very, very quick. They're very, very consistent. However, I do find that the strategy to get the best of them here is to go for the flat out option. So I recommend keeping it in fuel mix 1. I also recommend the racing softs. Be as fast as you possibly can. In terms of the AI, they do have a big starting lead over you. Again, that kind of chase the rabbit style event, I'm not a big fan of it, and it may take you some time to start working your way through the grid. Again, you do have the benefit of the overtake system, so although you're in pretty matched cars, just use the slipstream, use the overtake, and you should be able to get plenty of positions made up. As you can see here, we're going to get plenty done on the straight. They are very quick, however they do have to pit. I find that the best strategy here, fuel mix 1, run the racing softs and then box early. This way you can get into a bit of clean air. It should put you towards the back of the grid at that point. You should have a bit of clean track to make up plenty of time and then start making those positions up as the AI pits. The AI, again, they do have different strategies, so some may pit around about lap 10, and then some will pit on the last couple of laps as well. So again, even if you get to the likes of lap 14 and you're still, I don't know, hanging around in maybe 4th, 5th position, again, a lot of the AI will still have to pit no matter what, because they can't make the fuel go to the end of the event. So when it came to the pit stop, again, another set of softs, fill the car up, let's just get it done with. So as you can see here, we're going to take the exit to the pits. We are on lap 9 here, and this is where we're going to end up at the back of the grid, a fair ways off the rest of the sort of AI racers. However, we do have the benefit of an open and clear track, and we do obviously have the likes of the AI still having to pit. So as you can see here, we're on lap 13, and again, we were sat in kind of the middle of the pack. You will notice that the majority of the AI will pit at the end of lap 13 onto 14 as we move up a bunch of positions up to P2. In terms of the leader themselves though, they do still have to pit, almost running out of fuel. Mine pitted on the end of lap 14 and that gave us the jump, and there we go, straight into the lead. Again, getting the strategy right is the key to winning this event. You might not necessarily be able to be doing it on, I guess, overall pace, so use the strategy to your advantage and go absolutely flat out. So there we go, last tick of the week. In terms of the payout for this one, 160,000 credits without the clean race bonus and 500,000 credits on top of that for reward number 3 of the week. So there we go, all rewards are now collected. Let's head over to the rewards section. So first we're going to open up our driving marathon roulette. As you can see, there's some fairly decent things on here for a 4-star. The main thing I'm wanting to get is either the credits or the car, and that's exactly what we're going to get. So really not too bad for a daily marathon reward. We end up with the Amuse Nismo 380 RS Superleggera. And then we're going to add on the credits. So 100k, 200k, and then finally the 500k, which should take the account to just over 48 million credits. Not too bad at all. Again, a relatively short week. So there we go, another set of weekly challenges done and dusted. I do apologise if my commentary is a bit off today. I'm still currently suffering from a chest infection. That's why I've been trying to take a bit of a pause between doing commentaries. I'm only just starting to get like my breath back and stuff like that. So hopefully soon I should be back to normal, and hopefully content can resume as normal from next week onwards. So thank you for bearing with me today. Sorry if it's a little bit off or not to the usual standard. Anyway, have a great weekend and all that kind of stuff. Take care, guys. Peace.